You're watching Celtics Today and the Heat Report. I am Will Scott here after the conclusion of Game 5, and we will see Game 6 after the Celtics won 110-97 at TD Garden after trailing 3 games to none in the Eastern Conference Finals. Boston has won 2 straight. They have stayed alive, and they have all the momentum going to Miami for Game 6 on Saturday night. As we welcome in producer Nick Rohloff and the host of the Heat Report, Nick Rohloff. Jayson Tatum, we'll start with some Celtic stats here. Jayson Tatum did not do anything crazy tonight. He was solid, 21 points, 11 assists, 1 of 6 from three-point range. We'll get into some more Celtics players here in a second. First, let's take a look at the box score. 110-97 is the final score. The Celtics did a better job distributing the basketball tonight. The Heat kind of struggled with that ball movement for the most part. Rebound, Celtics got one more rebound. They dominated the offensive glass, though. Celtics as a team shot 50% from the floor. They made 16 three-pointers. Shout out Derrick White. We'll talk about him in a second. But he was absolutely phenomenal for Boston tonight. Nick, we knew this was going to be a tough game for the Heat to win in Boston. Elimination game, win or go home if you're the Celtics. But I think we expected a better effort from this Miami team here tonight.
Yeah, you know what? I hate these stats here that you see on screen right here, because what this game makes it seem like, or what you see on screen right now, makes it seem like this was a back-and-forth game that the Celtics pulled away late. I mean, the Heat shot 51.9% from the field and 40.9% from three. I mean, they must have really fought and hung in there in this game. That would be no. They did not play good. The 13-point loss, it was realistically an 18, 19-point game that a couple threes late turned into 13 points. But look here at the three-point numbers. The Celtics putting up 39 threes is crazy. Making 16 of them equally is crazy. And then them outshooting the Heat from 3 by 7 makes is really the difference in this game. That's 21 points just from the difference in three-pointers made. So when you consider the Celtics winning by 13, that really tells you all you need to know, that the three-point difference was the real difference in this game, alongside some Miami Heat turnovers that we'll get into a little bit later. But we'll continue to look at some Celtics player stats. And I think the first person you have to look at is Derrick White.
Shout out Derrick White. He was the MVP of this game. He led all scorers, not just the Celtics, but all scorers, with 24 points, 6 of 8 from three-point range. This guy was automatic, especially in the first quarter where the Celtics got that big lead. They took a 15-point lead in the second quarter. He actually hit a buzzer beater at the end of the first to give the Celtics that 15-point lead. And that was just too big of a hole for Miami to climb out of, is the Celtics just did not let the Heat back into this game, winning 110-97. But we saw in the first 3 games of this series, Nick, that the Heat had role players like Caleb Martin, Max Strus, Duncan Robinson stepping up. The Celtics did not have that. They have had that in the last 2 games. Derrick White was outstanding.
Yeah, Derrick White was, honestly, you could argue, the best player on the floor tonight.
He was. He was.
I think he was the leading scorer in this game, Will, and this is the first time all postseason long that the Celtics have had 4 20-point scorers. We'll look at the other 20-point scorers here in a second. But yeah, Derrick White led the game in scoring with 24. He was 8-11 from the field, 6 of 8 from 3, as Will mentioned. And the Heat had no answer for him. And I'll get into more of the Heat X's and O's with what their defense was doing a little bit later. But their 2-3 zone was letting Derrick White shoot any 3 he wanted, and he was making them pay. And we'll move on to the next player here for the Celtics, because Jaylen Brown, welcome to the series.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown is back. I don't think there's much question about that. 21 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. The stat line's not crazy, but Jaylen Brown was finally hitting shots. 9 of 18 from the field, 3 of 5 from three-point range. Hit some really timely threes in the first half when it kind of felt like the Heat were trying to get back in this game. Jaylen Brown just didn't let him. Jaylen Brown, I'm really optimistic after watching that performance from him tonight. I do believe that JB is all the way back. Be sure to subscribe, whatever channel you're watching on right now. Hit that subscribe button. Just surpassed 16,000 on Celtics. trying to get to 800 on Heat. Nick Rohloff doing a great job after launching that Heat channel before the series. Hit that subscribe button below. Marcus Smart was outstanding, man. 23 points. He made 4 3-pointers, 7 of 12 from the field. When Marcus Smart has that much of a positive impact, the Celtics really don't lose often.
Yeah, Marcus Smart was incredible tonight, and I think the one thing that you will continue to see on your screen as we cycle through some of these Celtics stats is that bottom fifth number, when it's just 3-pointers. Like, everybody shot almost above 50% from 3, it felt like. Jaylen Brown was 3 for 5. Derrick White was 6 for 8. Marcus Smart was 4 for 6. I actually think Tatum struggled from beyond the arc. But the other 3 players we just showed created the 4 guys in 20-point figures for the Boston Celtics. And when you have 4 guys score 20 or more points and shoot combined probably 50% from 3, you're going to win most ball games. Marcus Smart, arguably the heart and soul of this Boston Celtics team, he really came to play on your home court, and it's a big win for Boston here to force a Game 6. And now, as a Heat fan myself, I'm shaking a little bit, really nervous about how this series will play out because I'm getting a lot of nightmares, I should say, in my brain about the Heat being the first team to ever blow a 3-0 lead in the NBA. Will, I don't know how you're feeling.
115-0.
Yeah.
When you saw that graphic on screen for the first time, you're like, Will, I don't like that. That's an even number, 115-0. Sure enough, the Heat flirting with the wrong side of history here. And if you're the Celtics, really the message right now is 2 games down, 2 games to go. You need to win 4 in a row. It's never been done. Coming back from 3-0, but you're halfway there. Malcolm Brogdon, so he has a forearm injury. We learned of that before this game. He left the game with some forearm soreness. He has not been very good in the series, but nonetheless, if he's not able to come back for Game 6, that's a big blow for Boston.
I got to be honest, Will. We touch on this Malcolm Brogdon injury news, if he will be ready by Saturday night in Miami at the Kaseya Center to play. But I got to be honest, I don't even think the Celtics should play Malcolm Brogdon if he could go.
Okay.
Because I think Brogdon's been a net negative even when he's been out on the court.
We both play golf. You're good.
Why would you want Malcolm Brogdon on the floor? Because he has hurt you offensively. He's been someone the Heat could sag off and really dare to shoot because they're not worried about him hitting any shots because of that forearm. So if you're Joe Mazzulla and the Boston Celtics, with how good Derrick White has been and Grant Williams stepping up as of late, and we'll show his stats here as we still finish our conversation on Malcolm Brogdon, with some of these other role players stepping up, I don't really think the Celtics currently need Brogdon, that 6th man of the year, in this NBA season. So I wouldn't be surprised if they sit him down for the rest of the series and say, Brogdon, try to get healthy, and then maybe if we do complete the 3-0 comeback and first time in history, we'll have you for the NBA Finals. Your thoughts?
I'm with you. If Brogdon's not 100%, I don't think he should go. He should rest. And that sounds crazy because it's an elimination game. But you've been better without Malcolm Brogdon on the floor. That's just a fact. If he's not good to go, and I do think the forearm has been affecting him, he just has 2 points in the last 3 games combined. So I'm with you. I would not play Malcolm Brogdon this next game. Grant Williams, 6 points, 4 rebounds. I thought he was great defensively tonight. He's been an unsung hero for the Celtics in this series. Who wins this series? Type C for the Celtics or H for the Heat after Game 3. It felt like it was a foregone conclusion that Miami was going to play Denver in the NBA Finals. Not so much anymore. The Celtics have the momentum, and there's certainly a belief in the building in Boston right now that they can come back and win this series. It's never been done. But like I said, they're halfway there. And Rolly, you felt, in the words of Jaylen Brown, the energy shift, right? The momentum shift. And the Heat, the body language on the sideline, look nervous. The Celtics smiling, feeling loose, feeling like they can come back and win this series. And I'm sure you can talk more about this as we begin talking about the Heat, but just quickly, your thoughts on this series as a whole now, where it stands?
Yeah, around this Chat Sports office, I've been, I think, jokingly saying Celtics in 7 after, I guess, in the last 2 days because after the Celtics winning Game 4 made me a little nervous. But now it is full. If you had a panic meter 1 to 10 and shoot Chat Sports style, I think my panic meter was at 7.9 right now.
Wow.
The Celtics have all the momentum in the world.
It comes down to Game 6.
And I truly believe this, and I've said this, and this isn't kidding for me. Game 6 in Miami for the Miami Heat is Game 7. I mean, the Celtics have been playing Game 7 the past 2 games, obviously facing elimination. Miami Heat not facing elimination quite yet in Game 6, but it certainly feels that way because if they have to come back to Boston for a 7th game, with all the momentum on the world, I just don't see a world where the Heat will be able to go into TD Garden and win a 3rd game in this series to advance to the NBA Finals. So, with that being said, let's go look at some Heat stats. And the first person you have to look at is how disappointing Jimmy Butler was tonight. 14 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 of 10 from the field. It just didn't feel like he was all there today, and I said that in Game 4 too, and it's a little concerning to see because I feel like he is fully healthy now after suffering that sprained ankle at least 2.5, 3 weeks ago against the Knicks at this point. So it's disappointing to see Jimmy, and who we put our faith in to come out and absolutely ball out and lead us to the NBA Finals, not perform. And C-Note in the chat was nodding. He points out he was nodding and smiling at the end of Game 4 like there was nothing to worry about. Well, Jimmy, you can't do that in Game 4 and then come out and lay an egg in Game 5 because now all of Heat Nation is panicking and thinking that we're going to be the first team in NBA history to blow a 3-0 lead, and we'd never be able to live that down. It would truly just put an absolute stinger into how awesome this playoff run has been. Jimmy just been super disappointing to me. Your thoughts on Jimmy, Will?
Yeah, Jimmy, he didn't play really at all in the fourth quarter. I thought this could have been like a legacy game for Butler tonight. I kind of would have been worried about that as a Celtics fan coming in. And he was just not impressive tonight. Just something seemed off with Jimmy Butler. He did not take over the game. I'm with you. It was just a weird performance from Jimmy Butler at night. I thought he was going to come out, especially with Gabe Vincent out, and really take this game over, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, we're going to look at a couple more players from Miami, and then we'll sign off for this show. But Bam Adebayo, not great for the Heat tonight. 16 and 8. It looks halfway decent, but the first half was so damn abysmal. I think Bam had 4 or 5 turnovers as well, and that's something that I want to touch on if you're the Miami Heat. One of my keys to victory before this game was don't turn the ball over because you simply can't do it on the road, and it's the reason why you lost in Game 4 at home. You had 16 turnovers, including 4 possessions in a row in Game 4 that allowed the Celtics to go on that 18-0 run and take control of that game. And what they do in this game, the same amount of turnovers, 16 again. In the Boston, ironically, Celtics, they had the same amount of turnovers as Game 4 too. So in the past 2 games, if you just want to account for all the turnovers, the Heat sitting at 32, the Celtics are sitting at 20. Can't overturn your opponent. The turnovers have been a massive, massive storyline here in this series. Massive storyline. And the Celtics went on that 18-0 run in Game 4. Heat were up 9, third quarter, trying to close out the series. Celtics went on an 18-0 run because of those turnovers. Yeah, and Kyle Lowry, another person who turned the ball over a ton. I think he had 5 of his own. And we all expected Lowry to have a veteran big-time performance with Gabe Vincent out because of his sprained ankle. Hopefully Gabe will be able to go in Game 6. I don't think he will, but let's hope he is because, my goodness, Kyle Lowry was so bad that it looked like he was unplayable and he should just sit on the bench and borderline retire. Kyle Lowry, I don't think could play in the series, and if the Heat have to rely on him, they are in trouble. Last person I want to talk about is Duncan Robinson, leading scorer for the Heat tonight. 18 points, 3 rebounds, 9 assists. Duncan actually played fantastic, so kudos to him.
Yeah, he was really good.
But other than that, none of these Heat players. Well, him and Haywood Highsmith. We're not going to really talk about him, but he was really good for the Heat. So Duncan Robinson and Haywood Highsmith, the only 2 players that really came to play in this game. And, man, we're going to have to go back to Game 6. And, Will, final thoughts on Game 5 and potentially this Game 6?
After Game 4, I still was not sold on Celtics in 7. I think I am now. I think this is a Celtics team that can absolutely win in 7 and come back and make history because you mentioned it. Game 6 is Game 7 for this Heat team. I think the series comes down to Game 6 because if you're the Heat and you lose at home, Game 6, Celtics have won 3 straight going back to Boston. It's a wrap. I think the Celtics win that Game 7. So Game 6 on Saturday, must win for Miami. And if you're the Celtics, I think if you can do what you did defensively against Bam and Jimmy tonight, you're going to be in pretty good shape.
And I completely agree with Will. I already said this on today's show that I think Game 6 for Miami is truly the Game 7 because I don't see a way where they can lose 3 straight games to this team and then go into Boston for a Game 7 where the crowd would be hostile as probably ever in NBA history. It would be absolute bananas in TD Garden for them to have a chance to overcome that 3-0 deficit. And I think the last thing that I will say going into Game 6 is that actually I predicted Heat in 6 before the series started. Obviously, it would have been nice for them to close it out in 4 or 5, but I did say Heat in 6. I'm going to have to find the guts, find the courage to keep it at Heat in 6. Trust in Jimmy, trust in Bam, trust in Spo to not blow a 3-0 lead because those 3 have been so good over the last 4 years. There is no other way for me to believe right now than to trust them. So I'm going to trust them, but the final thing I'm going to say is the Heat cannot play this 2-3 zone anymore because the Celtics were getting wide open looks from 3 and they were getting every rebound because the Heat were out of position in that 2-3 zone. I think the Heat have to end that experiment. This Boston team is too talented, too good at shooting the ball from deep to continue running this 2-3 zone. And to me, that needs to stop. Will, final thoughts before we end the show.
I'm with you. We'll see what happens in Game 6. I think that 2-3 zone has not been very good for Miami. I'll say this. We might see a Jayson Tatum legacy game in Game 6. And I mean that in a good or bad way. I think it's going to come down to what Jayson Tatum can do.